Insiders love to sell at the top. You've seen it before, and we only know that in time. When we start looking back in the rear view mirror, right now there's some signals you need to know. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. In today's video, I'm going to show you both the insiders and the hedge funds selling off like crazy. Does that necessarily mean that there's a crash coming over here and this is going to be the end of it all? Or does it really mean that they are starting to take advantage of these price increases and want to be able to take some of that and put it elsewhere? For some, it really begs the question of why this is happening in the first place. Once we know that, then we can start answering those questions. As you see right here, The Economist, how high can markets go? And Northman Trader says, finally, a sell signal. Well, we've been looking at all of this all along, and you have seen the markets going absolutely wild. Well, how's the economy doing? What's happening with inflation? What's going on with jobs? All of these things, based on the statistics that are provided to us by the government, things are looking pretty good. If you compare it to what's happening across the world, looking at the US, things seem pretty normal, pretty stable. They're telling us that the GDP is growing. They're telling us that unemployment is record low. And so the markets say, hey, if we're going to get a recession at all, it's going to be mild, it's going to be shallow, so we don't have to worry. And so more and more money is pouring into the stock market. The problem here is that it's very concentrated. And so it's not a true bull market in the sense that it's healthy and so on. It has been showing itself to be rather weak in the sense of breadth. And so we got to pay attention to that. Looking at the data, and by the way, if you want to know when insiders are selling, I have a video on my channel that breaks it all down. When they buy, when they sell, and everything that they do. So you can go to the playlists section of my channel and you'll see it there, okay? I think it's labeled something like how to find out when insiders like Jeff Bezos are selling. The great cash out. Jeff Bezos, Leon Black, Jamie Dimon, and the Walton family have now sold a combined $11 billion in company stock this month, some for the first time. So I've been covering this a little while ago, just showing you the updates as they come through, and you'll see that for yourself, just some numbers in here. Basically, it's a lot, even based on, their standards of them being wealthy and so on. I know some people would say, you know what? They're so wealthy and it doesn't mean anything. They sell off $1 billion, they sell off $100 million. It's nothing. It is in many sense of the word. It's in a historical context. It's a lot. If you look at it, in the case of JP Morgan, it's just the first time ever. I mean, these things here we have to start paying attention to. As I've said, though, it's not necessarily the case where these guys are saying, I need to head for the exits because, I got to go in my bunker. No, that's not what we're saying here. You got to understand that they're taking advantage of the rise. They're not saying, I'm going to ride this thing until I can retire. They don't need to do that. They already have a lot of cash. And so they're going to take that to put it into something that hasn't appreciated as much. They might be putting it into farmland. They might be putting it into buying a new home. They might be putting it into a startup. So they could start to invest in that, which we do see some of these companies doing, right? So keep an eye on that as well, all right? So you're looking at the totals, and yes, Jeff Bezos obviously selling a lot of that, $8.5 billion this month alone. They're going to make some claims about why they're doing this and that, and yeah, it's all due to taking advantage of taxes. And okay, we get that. But it's not just the insiders that are selling. Hedge funds are dumping tech stocks at the quickest pace in 7 months after piling in ahead of Nvidia's wild earnings report. So they take advantage. Buy the rumor, sell the news. And a lot of people are talking about Bitcoin as well, suggesting that, all right, the halving coming up very soon. And so there's this frenzy that's going on. Bitcoin rallies over 60,000. But when the halving occurs, let's say it's at 65, maybe it's at 70, who knows? That might be an opportunity into which a lot of these players start to sell okay? Not the big believers in Bitcoin, not those people, but some people who are simply just trying to get in, get out at the right time. They'll put that money into Tether. So we know if the price starts to come down and you see the market cap of things like Tether going up, well, then we know exactly what happened. They were simply taking advantage of that price at the time. All right. So hedge funds, they're going to move. You're going to see this week to week to week. Everything's going to change. However, just looking at it, the pace at which they're doing this, it's going on now. And why? Well, because the stock, the market had moved up so fast, and they're taking advantage. There's no question about that. When we look at hedge funds, that's obvious. Goldman CEO warns against overconfidence about a U.S. soft landing. David Solomon strikes a more cautious tone about the economy, citing uncertainty on inflation and geopolitical risks. So we don't know what's going to happen. We're being told over and over again that, hey, everything's fine. You don't need to worry because we got this. Well, the Federal Reserve has made it very clear that there are some of the risks out there, but we're going to do everything we can. We'll contain them and so on and so forth. I don't know what's going to happen in terms of the potential geopolitical risks that could unravel at any moment, although we have two, what I would consider major wars taking place, and still nothing. Not even oil. Oil hasn't even, performed as a result of this. So, how do we make these markets move? The VIX just keeps dropping lower and lower and lower. Apparently, volatility is not a thing anymore. Okay, and then we look at this, just individuals. You'll see this all the time. This is Apollo Global's chief economist saying, no more rate cuts for 2024. Okay, that was going to happen, but no, it's all gone. Well, he said that the Federal Reserve will not cut rates this year, and rates are going to stay higher for longer amid a resurgence in growth and stubborn inflation pressures. Look, nobody knows the future, but the expectation as of now is that there's going to be a lot less than what they thought December or even early January. They were saying at one point 7 rate cuts for 2024. Now they're saying it's probably more like 3 rate cuts. And some people are saying absolutely none this year. We'll see. I'll tell you, though, who is saying it is even people in the Fed. Even people in the Fed are starting to say, and voting members of the Fed are starting to say, we are ready to cut interest rates in 2024, just not yet. Look at this article. This is dealing with Canada, but it's the exact same thing. Inflation's down. So where are the interest rate cuts? That's right, because they're so heavily reliant. Real estate, everything is so heavily reliant on what happens with interest rates. They need them to come lower. And quite frankly, it doesn't look like that's going to be the case anytime soon, at least not, in these next couple months. So you got to plan accordingly. Get your stuff in order, just thinking, even if they cut tomorrow, what's that going to mean? It's still going to mean that interest rates are elevated based on where they were and had been from, basically since the financial crisis, other than a short period where they went up a little bit. But you got to keep that in mind as the demand is clearly there for real estate. Investors are jumping in. Everybody wants in. Oh, a home is built or a home comes up in an area. If it's not a person, it's an investor. It's a builder. They want to get in on that. They're not going to make the profit that they did before, but they're certainly going to give it a go. At least that's what I've been seeing myself. If you want to know the ins and outs, the depths of all of these things, I talk about this for 2 hours every single Friday. I got new people just joined. Happy to have each and every one of you. I have been improving this and tweaking it and molding it ever since the beginning, and it's getting better and better. And I want to thank all of you for being in that group, the Finance Friday crew. Hello, shout outs to you. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button on the way out. If you want to check out Finance Friday or the Business Live for Sunday classes, hit that link in the description. I want to thank you for being here each and every day. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.